Hey guys, it's Oliver Hoskins here, and this is the final whistle.
Hello and welcome back to the final whistle, brought to you by the Rugby Connection podcast. This week's guest is our first Wallabies tight head. He's torn it up in the Western Force in Super Rugby. He was with London Irish in the Championship days, and he's still there now, cruising to 150 appearances for the club. It's Oliver Hoskins. Oliver, thank you so much for coming on. How are you getting on?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
We're very lucky to have you on. And like I said, you are our first Wallabies tight head. So there you go. Nice.
I'll take it. I will take it.
I would have said you're our first Western Force or first London Irish, but neither of them are true. So I can't lie to you.
That's all right, mate.
Just the first question, just to get we ask all our guests this, just to get the ball rolling. What actually got you into rugby way back when?
Well, initially, I've got British parents. Both my mum and my dad were born over here, and my dad has been a rugby mad his whole life. So it really wasn't even a debate for me. I kind of came out the womb, and my dad gave me a rugby ball. And my two older brothers also played. So I kind of grew up on the sidelines, even when I was, before I can remember. I've got pictures of me going down to my dad's games and watching my brothers and stuff. And then I'd just be going down to training when my brothers were there. And I started getting involved when I was about 4, playing touch with the under-8s and stuff. But yeah, it was never really an option, especially coming from where I'm from. It's not a massive rugby part of the world. It's mainly Aussie rules football, cricket and soccer. But yeah, my dad gave me no option, and I'm kind of glad he did, because I guess my genetics also dictated a bit of me getting into rugby. I couldn't really play much else.
Fair enough. Did you ever try the Aussie rules or the cricket?
No, I never played Aussie rules. I'm not a massive fan of it. Cricket, I played a couple of seasons just socially with my mates, and then when I was young, same sort of thing. I played, I think, 1 or 2 seasons of football or soccer, but it was just more of my mates are doing it, so I did it. But rugby's always kind of been, ever since I played when I was young, it's always been kind of my passion. I've been a bit obsessed with it.
I love that. You mentioned your brothers playing. Were they tight heads or props as well, or did you all just try to play different positions?
Yeah, so I've got my middle brother. I've got 2 older brothers. I'm the youngest. My middle brother is in the second row. He's quite tall. And then my oldest brother played 12 pretty much his whole life.
Nice.
And then he's recently moved to number 8. And he's playing he plays 6, 8, and then 12 if they need him. So he's a bit of a jack of all trades. But he's one of those 12s who he didn't pass. He just was there. He's like crash ball, direct 12, and he's kind of like a forward master in the backs, but he did that for a long time, and now he's finally made his way to the light and playing the forwards.
I like that. So maybe one day you could have you at tight head, your brother at second row, and your oldest brother maybe on the flank. So it's nice.
To be fair, my whole family, even my dad, we played in the Bali 10s. Probably, God, what year would it have been? It would have been 2013, maybe 2012, 2013. My dad played, and he was like, he'd been retired for ages, but he's like, I want to play with my son. So we went and we played for a team in the Bali 10s, and it was me, my middle brother and my dad in the front row, and then Tobias, my oldest brother, went in the second row because 5-man scrums. And then my cousin also came over, and he went in the second row too. So we literally had a whole like Hoskins scrum, and my dad just like was like the peak of his existence. And then I remember throwing like a long ball to him and he tried to like run 10 meters, and he just like threw the ball over his head. It was like, I've done my scrum, I'm out. And then he just went and had a beer. So
yeah,
it made for a good photo though. It made for a really good photo.
I like that. I love stories like that. There was a story, I want to say about 2 months ago now. It was in Ireland, and it was his final game, and it was literally the whole, him and his 7 sons were the whole scrum. So it was unreal. And like, obviously the dad was like 58, something like that, and the youngest was like 18, so it was like his senior debut or something like that. And
that's unbelievable. Love that.
Yeah, gotta love it. Because we mentioned that you did play in Super Rugby, and you've played Championship, you've played Prem Cup, you've played Premiership, and of course International Rugby. What's the biggest difference between like each stage of your career almost?
Yeah, especially when I first came over to the UK, I think there was quite a big difference between Super Rugby and then what I experienced, especially going into the championship initially. It was a massive shock to my system. I started kind of coming over from Super. There's this weird sort of like superiority complex back in the day. There was, especially when it was the Southern Hemisphere. Like when you're over there, like I didn't know anything about the Premiership or any. When I signed over here, I didn't know the names of every single club in the competition. Super Rugby was just kind of this little bubble you are in down there, and you think it's like the be all and end all of the rugby world, and anything outside there is like inferior. And then when I like came over into the Championship, that was heightened even more. And my first preseason over here, I just remember just getting absolutely smacked around. Like I got humbled so quickly. With our first couple of scrummaging sessions, I remember almost blacking out in some of these scrums. I was getting popped out the top. I was like, what have I got myself into? Because I'd just been like, it was never like, it was just like a necessary evil of my game when I played back home. And there wasn't the emphasis on it that it was over here. I think that's changed now in the modern game. Like when I was involved with the Wallabies last year, the level of detail and the emphasis on the scrum and stuff was like way better than what it was when I was back playing Super Rugby 7-8 years ago. But yeah, it was just the intensity of the set piece and the level of in sort of the level of detail we went into with Maul. And the amount of reps we were doing in training and stuff of scrummaging and type of the long scrums and the arduous sort of scrums that comes with playing the Championship as well, which was gritty pitches and you just got to kind of roll your sleeves up and get the job done. It's a bit different when I was playing. I think my last Super Rugby game I think might have been at Eden Park or something, playing against the Blues.
Very nice.
And I went from that, and then my first game in the UK, one of my first games was down playing Cornish Pirates in Penzance, literally like horizontal rain on a mud pitch with like 8 people watching. And I was like, 4 months ago I was playing at Eden Park. I was like, what is going on? Like, this is wild. But it was a really humbling experience for one, because I kind of realized I'm not as good as I thought I was, because I was playing Super before that. And then I came over here and playing against some part-timers in the champ and getting dished up like at set piece. I was like, it was really humbling, to be fair. And it allowed me, being in the Championship before kind of stepping into the Premiership, that first year allowed me to kind of fail a little bit out of the spotlight. Like, cause I had some games where I just really didn't feel up to it set piece wise. Around the park was fine, but at my set piece, I was like, what am I got myself into? And there was some, as I said, some part-timers and young kids were just absolutely dishing me up. And it allowed that sort of learning experience to happen away from the spotlight of the Premiership. And luckily, Irish were good. They stuck with me through it because they believed in me and stuff, and I've come out the other end of it. But yeah, it was a very steep learning curve coming over here set piece wise.
I love that. From Eden Park to Penzance in front of 8 people to Twickenham in front of 80,000.
It's been a roller coaster of a journey for sure. It's kind of there's a lot of young guys and stuff that a few young guys will get like fast tracked and go from like playing age grade rugby straight into professional rugby and do really well in professional rugby straight into international and just like bang, bang, bang. But for the majority of boys, it's an absolute slog, especially for type 5 boys. It's a slog, and it's you have to really learn your craft over a lot, and you have to be willing to get messed up a lot and learn from your mistakes and take feedback and get dropped and not get picked and then work your way back up. It's kind of an emotional roller coaster, this job. But if you just stay the path and keep having a crack at it, and luckily enough, it's gone all right for me.
I was going to just ask, would you have changed anything in your journey so far, or?
No, I mean, I would have loved to have played more international rugby than I have, but my career it still is unbelievable, and I've still got hopefully a few seasons left in me. I'm only 29 now, so we'll keep going until the wheels fall off. But I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, moving over here was at the time a really scary, massive decision for me, being a young kid who was living at home in Perth and then coming over and moving to the other side of the world. But yeah, it's been the best thing I've ever done, both for my career in rugby and my outside life. Like, I met my wife over here. I've established my life here. Connected with family I have over here that I wasn't previously close to. And professionally, it's just completely changed my perspective on the game and made me so much of a better player. And I don't think I would have been the player I am now if I didn't come over here and have those really tough years of getting getting messed up and being humbled a bit. And yeah, I took the path less traveled, but I'm really happy, and it did. Obviously manifested in my ultimate goal of becoming a Wallaby. So I got there eventually.
Just sticking on that, Cam, one of our co-hosts, has asked just how you felt about earning your debut cap.
Yeah, it was the most emotional week of my life, most of a couple of days of my life. It came really fast, but at the same time, as I explained before, it was such a grind for me to get there. But so it was such a long process to put myself in a position to be picked. But the way it came about was just this instantaneous snowball of nothing into everything within the space of literally a day. So we played against Saracens on the Saturday, and I was at my mate's place. I'm a massive nerd, so I was literally at my mate's place on Sunday playing Dungeons and Dragons with a bunch of my friends. And mid-session, I had a missed call from Petrus, who I played with at Irish. And I knew he was the Wallaby scrum coach.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, we're there in London, maybe he wants to just catch up or whatever. And I went into the other room and called him, and he was like, yeah, mate, we need you in camp tomorrow. And I literally was sitting there in my mate's bedroom. I'd just been nerding out playing Dungeons and Dragons in the room before, and I literally was just sitting there oh my God, my world has just been flipped on its head. And at that time, it was just they've had some injuries, they don't know if they're going to come through. Can you come into camp and train? And I was like, this is unbelievable. Even then, I was shaking, this is unbelievable. And then the next day, went into camp, met everybody. I was training with Irish in the morning, and then they confirmed it, and I went straight from Irish training to Wallabies camp. I had no kit or anything. I was just walking around in my London Irish gear, and they gave me some kit for the session that afternoon. And then literally then the Tuesday morning, the next morning, we had a team meeting, and I got named to play against England. And I was like, it's just this. I don't know if the video went around. Literally they read my name, and I was just my brain just couldn't compute seeing my name up there. And I just exploded. It was crazy. And then the actual experience, the game day experience, was nothing I've ever experienced before in my life. I just never ever forget running out onto Twickenham and having 80,000 people there, and the fireworks, and just this I just had this really. I remember we ran out onto the pitch and we're about to line up for thing, and I just stood in the middle of the pitch and just looked around for a couple of seconds, and I was just in my own head being this is just wild. This is everything that I've worked for since I was 14. I've been in a professional environment, and I remember telling my dad that I wanted to play international rugby, play for the Wallabies when I was 8 or 9, playing at a club rugby game or whatever. Yeah. And the fact that it kind of 20 years later from that point, being 28, and I was just sitting there just trying to soak in this thing, and this experience that happened so quick, but has also been the manifestation of so many years of work. And yeah, just standing there singing the national anthem, and my parents and my wife were directly opposite me in the stands, and I just locked eyes with them, and it was just big waterworks, blubbering, singing the national anthem. It was just I felt numb in my body. It was just an unbelievable experience. The game itself didn't go amazingly for us. We probably, as a team, the Wallabies didn't play that well, but I got about 13 minutes, had a couple of scrums, made a couple of tackles, and got one carry. But yeah, the whole week and the game day experience was just the most incredible thing of my life. And then the next week after, I got to stay with the team. We went down and played Wales. I wasn't involved that week, but still, even that, just being in the Principality, being involved with the team and stuff for the week, like a test match week, is just incredible. So yeah, it was everything I could have ever wanted.
It's the best 13 minutes you'll ever never forget. Yeah,
I will never ever forget. Even the build up and stuff, I'll just never forget that week ever. It's incredible.
That's always a thing I've always thought of. Probably not now. I've kind of just accepted it, but still a low key dream. I've always said, I don't think I've ever told anyone apart from friends and family this, but I've kind of always said, if I played 1 minute for Edinburgh and got one cap for Scotland, done. I've done it. That's it.
Yeah.
It could be.
It was funny.
The first minute. It could be the first minute, and I can get injured in the first hit, and you can take me off. I don't care. I've done it. I've done my moment.
It was just a goal that I set for so long. And it was funny. I found a screenshot of a text message that I sent my brother during the first lockdown in COVID, and I posted on Instagram a couple, like 6 or 7 months ago. And it was like a screenshot of a text message I sent my brother. And it was literally like, I was so frustrated at this point in my career because I was playing well, but I couldn't get picked for the Wallabies, obviously, because I was playing overseas and the laws wouldn't allow it. And I was eligible for England, but I wasn't getting picked for England. But I was just like in this, and I was just so frustrated because I wanted to play Test footy so bad. And I think I messaged him being like, this next 2 years, I'm just going nuts, and I'm going to do everything I can to play Test rugby.
Yeah.
All that, and I literally said in the text, I was like, I just want one, even if it's just one cap off the bench. Like, I just need to play Test match rugby. And then literally like a year and a half after that text, it happened. And I was like, there's literally like some weird manifestation thing. But it was just funny. I literally just drawn through and I found this screenshot of this text. I totally forgot I sent my brother. And I was like, wow. I gave myself a 2 year time frame, about a year and a half. There was I understand there was a bit of luck involved. Like I was watching the Scotland game where where Allen and Taniela went down in that game. I was watching it as a fan on my couch the day before, and I literally didn't pop into my mind that I'd even be because I never had any contact with the Wallabies whatsoever before that. Oh, right. So I didn't even think that I was in contention to be picked. So they went down. And I was like, oh, that sucks, whatever. And then to be in there the next week, it was just like, what the hell? It was wild, but I'll never forget it. I'm just it was the best experience of my life.
Good. I'm feeling like happy for you, and I wasn't even like part of it. It's funny though, because like obviously when like the video and all that, we seen your reaction to getting picked. Obviously your name was floating around the internet, and I did have we had a team discussion on getting you on the show. Yeah. And at the time I was just like, how do we do that? Bear in mind, at this point, we've already spoke to Matt Rogerson. So I was like, but all good things happen for a reason.
Yeah, I'm here now, so it's all good.
You're here now, exactly. That's all that matters. Got another question from another co-host. It's from Jemma. She's asked, what's the best social you've ever been on? I don't know if you're allowed to give me the answers or the details anyway.
I can dance around the finer details, but I can give you.
There we go.
One comes to mind. Always, it's one of the ones that always comes up. Like every year we have social, we always kind of talk about this one.
Okay.
It was 2019, I think. And we had a bloke in the squad then. He's played for Irish for years and years. I think he retired not last year, the year before. Connor Gilsonen. He's an Irish bloke, and he was just like incredible play. He's just like the way he played and the way he was off the pitch were just exactly the same. Just like 1,000% into everything. Like he's the most like passionate man of all time. And he was like head of our social. We had like a players like social committee essentially, and he'd like organize all the social because he was incredible. He could talk the back legs off anyone and organize anything. He knew everyone in every sort of area of life. So if you wanted to get something organized, you go to Gilly and he'd sort it out. And we started off the social and was at like a random rugby club, I think around Reading somewhere. And we went there pretty early and we're having like breakfast and beers and then we had did like stupid game, all dressed up as hippies, and we did stupid games out in the rugby field there. Then went inside and had a court session and blah blah blah. And we were just having pints and stuff. And then he put us on a bus, and we didn't know we were leaving this place. We thought we were just going to have a lock in there and get drunk, sort of thing. On a bus, and just like we just went off driving. He wouldn't tell us where we were going. We're like, this is weird. Probably just go to a cool pub or something, and it'll be nice. And we drove for like an hour and a half. Ended up rocking up in, I think it was Bournemouth or somewhere around there. And we get off and he just hands us all tickets, and we're at this like massive music festival with like awesome acts and stuff everywhere. And we literally was like, no one had any idea. And obviously the social committee had organized the stuff. And gave us all tickets. There's like 50 of us all dressed as hippies going to this music festival. And it was just like one of those awesome days where the vibes are just like incredible. Boys are just in such a good mood. And I think we started at 10 a.m. at this rugby club, and then he'd organized everything so well. And there was like the buses picking us up after the last act at like 11:30. We'd be back I think we got home at like 1 or something. So it was a long day, but just the way he didn't shadow any of it to us. And we started off at a random rugby club just having beers, and ended up in Bournemouth at a music festival, and like it was unreal. That was one of my favorite socials ever.
That's class. I love that, and I love the fact that no one knew.
He was so good. And Gilly talks. He could talk for Ireland, honestly. He's just talk, and he kept he played it really well. It was unreal.
No, that's pretty cool. I love that. Mm-hmm. Is there any details you missed on that, or do I find out later?
Yeah, I don't know if I can. It was a good day. It was fun.
That's fine. That's all that
Yeah.
matters. What was the best advice you were ever given growing up, getting into rugby?
That I was ever given getting into rugby. Number one was to something that I didn't probably understand. I was told it early, but I never really applied it until probably recently in my later years of my career. Was to first and foremost is to have fun with it. I was so determined to play professional rugby when I was like younger, and once I played professional rugby, I was so determined to play international, and I was so like I loved playing, but I took it so seriously and almost obsessed over it when I was younger, and I drive myself with a lot of like childhood experiences and stuff because I was just so obsessed with being a professional rugby player. Like I didn't go when you graduate high school in Australia, you go to this thing called leavers. It's kind of like this big celebration when you finish high school exams, all the stuff, and all that. Everyone goes away and has a couple of days on an island off the coast of Western Australia called Rottnest. Everyone goes there and leavers, and you with all your mates and all these other people who just graduated school, and it's like all a big party and stuff. Didn't go to that because I didn't want to miss. There was one training session in the middle of it. Refused to miss the training sessions. So didn't go to that. Like I just never really went out on the weekends at all when I was younger because I was just like rugby. I'd literally go to school. I go to school all day, straight after school, go to like academy training, go home, eat, sleep, repeat. And then on the weekends, I was just like so obsessed with it. I just wanted to watch every rugby game and just be like, which obviously has worked out because I've had an awesome career and I'm still playing professional rugby at almost 30 years old now, and I've been going since I made my debut when I was 20. So I've already had a 10-year career in professional rugby, played internationally, and I've got hopefully another 5-6 years left in me. But I do look back on it now and be like, God, I did miss some big experiences in my life because I was just so hyper focused on rugby, which it has its pros and cons. But but now I feel like the last couple of years I've played my best rugby when I've kind of relaxed a little bit more. Because I put so much pressure on myself to make teams or play to a certain level, which is a good thing. But also I would just hyper analyze, and if I made a mistake, I'd get so frustrated. And if things didn't go well, I'd sort of catastrophize stuff a lot. Whereas now I kind of realize there are things that I can control and things I can't control, and they're really the only things that I should be stressing about are things I can control. And at the end of the day, rugby being such a team sport, what I can control really is my effort and my level of preparation I put in. But there's so many other things that are out of your control that can determine a winner or a loss or a good or a bad performance personally, especially being a front rower. Like you could go into every single scrum and have the perfect mindset, and you can do the perfect setup and you can get your weight across and whatever. And then someone else can just absolutely dish you up. And I would be so focused on the results and the outcomes and stuff, and not on what I can control, which is the process and my mindset going into things, that I just get so frustrated and I get one scrum wrong and I just like lose my head for the rest of the game and just like think about, I go home and all I'll be thinking about is just like, there's a couple of mistakes I made, and just be so hypercritical of myself, which put a lot of and in recent years, I worked with like our team psychologist stuff, and I've just kind of focused on things I can control and really put my 100% of my focus and my effort into that. And then the outcomes of what will be what they are. And if it's good, if it's bad, as long as I've applied myself in a way that lines up with my values and I can control, then I can live with any sort of outcome. So that's probably the best advice I had growing up, which I didn't really apply until later in my career. And as the advice I wish I had as a tight head, because I moved to tight head quite late. I was playing number 8 until I was 17, around then, 16, 17. So I played number 8 until then. And I wish, like, I had people telling me to like obviously working a scrum and work, but for me, it wasn't like rammed down my throat that like now I've turned to tight head. If I want to make this work, the fundamentals of your game is what you need to focus on. Because I was a back rower converted, and the way Super Rugby was back then, all I wanted to do was carry the ball, tackle, run, do the fun stuff. And I never scrummaging, mauling, breakdowns were just a necessary evil I had to kind of put up with so I could do the fun stuff. And that was where all my focus was. I wanted to be lean. I wanted to be all this stuff as a tight head. I think when I first came over, when I first signed with RH, I was like 118 kilos. Like I'm naturally very heavier. So I had 118 kilos, and I was like really lean. And I came in, and I was like on the yo-yo test, which was the fitness test. I was like beating all our back rowers, and I was running the same as like our tens and in that test. And then we get to a unit session, I'd be getting absolutely folded. So then Irish came to me and were like, look, you can let you put on 10 kilos. Do it, because we want you to scrum better. I don't care if your fitness goes down 20%. We need your set piece up. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then I started actually, focusing on the fundamentals of my game. Yeah. And that's when everything else, like I didn't lose my skills, and having a good skill set and being able to carry and all that sort of stuff is important, especially now in the modern game. But focusing on the fundamentals is something that I wish I had people to put more emphasis on back home when I was younger. And maybe, I know coaches did say scrum's important or whatever, but I just don't think it was rammed hard enough home for me how that is, at the end of the day, that's the moneymaker. Like scrummaging, mauling, breakdown, tackle, the tough stuff. That's what I wish it was probably rammed home more for me when I was younger.
Just before we go on to something else, what is your dream front row partners? You could pick your loose head, both past and present. So you get one choice, and same for your hooker as well. Obviously, you're our guest, so you'll be starting that tight head.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
Hooker, the hardest bloke at hooker I've ever scrummed against, and I never got to pack a scrum with him, but everyone who has ever packed scrums with him just swears that he's the greatest scrummaging hooker they've ever gone with, and I've scrummed against him. Tatafu Pilot now. He honestly, I remember one of my first premiership games was against Leicester, and he was playing hooker for Leicester. And the way he just hits you like a truck every time, and he just like drags his props through. Like, it was just unbelievable. And everyone who's ever scrummed with him have been like, he just made your life so easy. So I would have loved to have had some time scrumming with Tatafu. So he'd be my hooker. Loose head, there's so many good loose heads, God. So many. I mean, probably I got to scrum against him once when I was younger playing for the Force, but the Beast, Tendai and Tamuera, was unreal. And I remember scrumming against him in my first year of Super. I think he was playing for the Sharks, and I was like just turned 21, and he was like in the prime of his career. And it was like the 76th minute, so I literally got on for like the last 4 minutes, and I was just like wired, so ready for this scrum. Like, I just need to do well against the Beast. And you could tell, like, went into it like super pumped up, and he was blowing. He played for 76 minutes. Yeah. And I like hit him as hard as I could, and I was like, he just like sat there, and I could tell he was like knackered, and he just wanted the ball to come in and out. And he was nice to me, just kind of sat, and I was going like, oh, go. And I could just tell him just like, and he was just chilling, and I just couldn't budge him. And I'm lucky that I'm lucky he wasn't up for it, because I think he probably would have messed me up. So I had no idea what I was doing in the scrum when I was 20. I was just hitting and hoping for the best. So yeah, I'll probably go Toff and the Beast. And then current players, I'm really lucky, honestly, to play with Augustine Creevy right now at hooker. He's unreal. He's been an awesome influence on my career, and the way scrummaging with him, he's another guy who makes everything a lot easier for you as a tight head, because he's got so much knowledge around the scrum, and he's talking to you the whole time, and he understands what he's doing. So I'm really like playing with Gus now is awesome. He's been massive for me. And just the way he goes about his work as well, knowing him. He's 36, I think, now, or something. I don't know if I get that wrong. I'm sorry, Gussie, if you're listening. Modern day loose head. Who has, there's been so many guys who have messed me up over the years. I'm trying to think.
They don't have to have messed you up. You could just like their work, and you never have to touch them if it helps.
Let me think. Putting me on the spot here.
I know, I love it. I love putting them on the spot.
Yeah. He's doing work right now. I mean, honestly, actually, the guy, I saw him play on the weekend for Ireland. I think Andrew Porter is someone he's just come over from tight head, and he's just like let loose. And he looks like such a beast. I've heard stories of him in the gym, how strong he is. And I think he's just gone from this tight head I don't know if he played loose head before, and he's coming to just his international loose head like that. And I think he's still like really young in his like loose head years. I think he's going to be unbelievable, and he is unbelievable already. So I reckon, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Andrew Porter, Gussie, and me for the modern day loose heads, yeah. And then the Beast, it's tough we pull on now for the older boys.
I like that. Both very solid, because even if you had, I don't know how you'd want to start. I don't know if you'd have the modern boys or the older boys starting, but you could have come off the bench and
either or. It
does mean you're doing a full 80.
I'll back myself for that. That's all good.
There you go. That's all I want to hear. We're going to move on. We're going to get to know Ollie as a person. So there's nothing to do really with rugby. It's more just away from it all.
Cool.
And first of all, we did actually find out you're a big Dungeons and Dragons fan before you said it.
Yeah, I mentioned it when I got picked of Wallabies, and it was like all the headlines and the things were like massive nerd plays Wallabies. I call myself a massive nerd, so it's fine.
I love that. No, we were told by a teammate of yours that you're a big Dungeons and Dragons fan. So
yeah, I am.
I mean, you know who we've interviewed, so you've got like a 50% chance of getting it right.
Definitely Rog. It's probably Rog.
It was Rog, yeah. It was Matt. Yeah.
Sure.
So if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, what's the go-to character you're playing as?
At the moment, in the campaign we're playing, I'm playing like a halfling barbarian. So essentially, I'm like a hobbit who's
cool.
I'm like a hobbit, but has got a real short temper and has like anger issues. And yeah, so he has like small man syndrome. He's really short tempered, which is something that's like it's like the polar opposite. I like playing things that are the polar opposite of myself because I'm like large and I'm quite like level headed and calm. Even when I play rugby, I don't play like anger filled. I like to kind of stay level headed. And it's quite fun playing someone who's really short tempered and irrational and makes stupid decisions because they see the red mist and get clouded by anger and stuff. So that's kind of who I'm playing right now. I find really fun.
I love that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not even asking you this because Matt's already given me the information. I was going to ask you cats or dogs, but I've been informed that your best friend has 4 legs. So
yes, he's on the picture back there. So.
I love that. There you go. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a picture behind Ollie.
Big German Shepherd. Big German Shepherd, Bronny. Yeah, he's the greatest man of all time. I love him.
I love that. Yeah. So I can't ask you that because it's a bit unfair. And nobody picks cats anyway. So
no one. Don't trust them if they do.
That's true. That's
Ollie Hassel-Collins, our winger, has like 3 cats and he takes them for like walks on lead and stuff. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I don't like it at all.
No, we're going to stick to the dog. I don't know if Matt has a dog.
He does.
There you go. And Matt's a dad. That's what we and him clicked on. And Kyle's got a dog and Scottish. So we clicked on that. And me and you have like dog. So there you go.
Voila. What dog do you have?
It's more my mum and dad's dog now, but it's a red fox retriever.
Beautiful. Love it.
Bit stupid up there sometimes, but generally a clever dog. But there's times when it's like you're broken. That's the best way to have them.
Yeah.
What is your favourite game? I'm guessing you're a bit of a gamer as well, perhaps.
Yes, I am a gamer, big time. I've just finished a couple months ago. Elden Ring came out. Elden Ring was like unbelievable, one of the best games I've ever played. My favorite game ever is The Witcher 3. So there's a book series originally, The Witcher, and then the games came out, and the 3rd edition of their games, The Witcher 3, is honestly the greatest game I've ever played in my life. It's another fantasy nerdy sort of game, and they've just made a Netflix series with The Witcher 2. But yeah, The Witcher is the best game ever. I've literally played it probably 5-6 times, and I could play it again now easily.
I am actually surprised you didn't pick Skyrim, just because of the whole like Dungeon Dragons. I don't know why. I don't know if that's the real.
Yeah, no, I played Skyrim when I was younger. I was massive into World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft ruined my like high school studies because I was just, instead of studying, I was telling my mum I was studying for an exam, and I was just deep into WoW. So I've been a gamer all my life. My dad's a massive gamer, and he kind of got us into it when we were younger, and then all my brothers are the same. But my dad was into it. I was watching him when I was younger, him playing like the original Diablo games and stuff back in the day, and he screwed my love for it. And he was massive into his fantasy stuff, and he introduced me to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and all that stuff, which is just like opened that side of my brain, which I love.
No, that's cool. I love God of War.
I literally downloaded that last night for the first time. I haven't played it, and I downloaded it last night for the first time because the sequel came out yesterday, I think. And I was like, God, I'm just going to play the original game first because it looks amazing. And I literally got into it last night, and I got to about 10 p.m. and I was like, I have training in the morning. I need to go to bed. But I had that itch I get with some games. I'm like, I could just sit here for 12 hours and just like.
Oh yeah.
So,
you could proper crush it out if you wanted to. So
yeah,
I'm guessing
that's my plan coming up.
I'm guessing you're a PlayStation guy.
Yeah, I'm I got a PS5 about 6 months ago specifically to play Elden Ring,
Nice.
and I'm very happy with it.
There we go. We could add each other on PlayStation.
Let's do it. I'm down.
There you go. I don't have a mic. Funnily enough, I don't own a mic. I don't have a headset or anything like that. I would have to. It's going to sound like the lacking of gaming ever.
Yeah.
So if you're playing a game with me that involves communication. I would phone you. I would sit with like my phone.
There's ways around it. I like it.
Yeah, there we go. So that's how I would do it because I don't have a microphone. So yeah, I'd have to phone you. If we played.
Ingenuity is good. I like that.
Yeah, it's the stupidest tactic ever, but it works.
It works.
Favorite style of food?
I love food. It's a tough question. I really do. It's so good, especially being in front row. It's the best thing. My favorite style of food ever is like really good quality sushi. So yeah, if which comes at a steep price in London, especially in general. But yeah, anytime I can get some really good quality sushi, I'll treat myself to that. I'm very happy to splash on that because I love it. It's something that like it's massive in Australia, and coming over here, it's not as beloved. But yeah, I absolutely adore just like fresh fish and any sort of sashimi and stuff. Unbelievable. Fair enough.
I do normally ask all our fans, all our guests this. I mean, you can be a fan of me if you want, but all our guests this. But because I know you're an Aussie, I can't ask you because I feel like I already know the answer. But I'm going to run it by you. One, does pizza belong on pizza? Pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes, it's the best ingredient you can put on a pizza, 100%.
And now I'm guessing you put it on your hamburgers as well.
Yes, I do. I put pineapple on everything, honestly, and then also on burgers. I haven't done this on pizza. Probably amazing on pizza too. In burgers, you go like pineapple and beetroot in it's like the greatest combo. It's the one Australian sort of colloquialism that stayed with me. But pineapple is it's a staple.
Now, do you grill the pineapple for the burger?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done it fresh either way, but I prefer it grilled. But I can put literally straight out even if it's just like the can style, I'll take a ring of pineapple out of the can and put it straight in a burger and be happy, man. But if it's grilled, even better, like over the fire, unbelievable.
You were doing so well until I got to food.
It's controversial. It is controversial. You either love it or you hate it, but I am all for it.
It's becoming less controversial on this show with the amount of Kiwis and Aussies we've had.
Yeah, it is a weird thing that we do back home. Then I come over here and people look at me like I'm a freak, but I love it.
I did the first time I found out about the pineapple on burgers is what really freaked me out. But then the more people I spoke to, so I've had the Levi sisters, I've had yourself, I've had Nick White. They're all telling me, yeah, try it, and I'm like,
and beetroot, do the double, just go dive head first in.
I'll work my way up. We'll try one, and then I'll try the Hoskins special. There you go.
Let's do it.
What is your favourite post-match drink? And I don't mean like protein shakes or water. We need proper answers on this show.
I love whiskey. I'm a big whiskey fan. So like my go-to, if I'm like out having drinks or whatever, I'd love like a good whiskey sour or an old fashioned is like my favorite cocktail.
Oh, nice.
But then I like just good whiskey neat is delicious. So I like there's a Welsh whiskey called Penderyn, which I really, really love, which has been my favorite so far. And then my mate literally just got me this Japanese whiskey called Yamazaki, which I haven't tried yet, but my wife swears I'm going to love it because she used to work in nightclubs and stuff. She quite knows it. She knows it. So I haven't cracked it yet because I literally got it last week and I haven't had an opportunity to. But when I do have an opportunity, I'm going to crack that. And hopefully, I think that might be my new favorite by the looks of it.
Fair enough. I have heard good things about Japanese whiskey, but you've not mentioned the main one. You didn't mention Scottish whiskey.
Do I have Scottish? I've got some. It's Glenfiddich Scottish.
Very Scottish, yes.
Yeah, I'm literally looking at it in my thing. I've got Glenfiddich over there, the single malt.
Also,
there you go. I've got some up there. I think the other one up there is. I've got a few. There's a few Scotches up there too. Yeah.
You get bonus points for pronouncing it properly as well.
With the
yeah.
You have to.
Kick in the throat, yeah. What is your favourite film? What's your favourite film?
Easy. School of Rock with Jack Black. Favourite film.
I love that. That's such a good answer.
Love it. I'm that guy. Like if you watched it with me, I could quote the script word for word, let alone all the songs in it. I know all the songs, so that's the easy part. But I can literally quote the script. I love that movie so much. So I'd get to a point where if it's ever on or I put it on, my wife wants to end it all because I just will be singing the songs for like a month afterwards. So I have to sporadically give myself a time away from School of Rock. Otherwise, it's just spurting out of me 24/7.
So I'm guessing that TikTok's your favorite now because of the trend that's going around with it's like. And Kyle, you come in with the bass.
Oh, I know I know the riff. I do. I haven't seen the TikTok, to be fair. I've never posted on TikTok, but I'm the occasional scroller. But yeah, I'd be down. Anything to do with School of Rock, I'm down. I know all the riffs. I know all the songs. I'm down. Fair
enough. So, who would play you in the movie of your life? Would it be Jack Black or?
But if you want to, if my level of charisma is that of Jack Black, I've done pretty well.
I think you're up. You're a vibe and a half anyway. We're vibing hard, so
I would love it if Jack. I love that man. I think he's so fun. I'd love it if Jack. Aesthetically, all my mates always just used to rip into me, especially since he's gone bald and I'm bald now. Is Kevin James, the Mall Cop? Yeah, they just think I look like him. And I mean, I kind of get it. I don't think, but he's I've literally, my mates will call me Kevin James back home and rip into me for being the mall cop. So
I mean, I don't think you look like him personally.
Thank you. I mean, he's not a bad looking bloke, but I feel But I mean,
money, tons of money.
It's someone for everyone. But yeah. Yeah. If Jack Black could play me, I'd be a happy man.
There you go. Now, would you have the style that you've got now with the mustache and the beard, or would you let Jack Black just go full beard and be you?
I'd go full. I literally had a full beard last week or the week before. I had been growing out for months and it was actually getting quite glorious. And then I committed very hard to a Halloween costume. I had a Halloween party after we played Quins a couple of weeks ago, and I went as a bikie gang guy, like a Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, nice.
I shaved in this massive goatee, and it was down to here, dangly goatee. And I didn't want to commit to being the full bikie goatee full time, so I trimmed it back, and now this is starting to go. But I'll grow it back out. I usually have a bigger beard than this, but I'll just experiment from time to time.
I love the commitment, though. I love that.
Yeah, I wasn't going to do it half-assed. If I'm going to do a costume, I'll go proper.
No, that's fair enough. Favorite song or style of music? I know that sounds like two very different questions, but usually it goes hand in hand.
Style of music, I'm really eclectic. I literally listen to everything under the sun. My favorite artist of all time is Frank Ocean. And I listen to him non-stop. It's another thing that I put it in probably daily, and every time it comes on, my wife wants to plug her ears because I just listen to the same albums just on repeat non-stop. So yeah, Frank Ocean, a song called Self-Control from his album Blonde is my favorite song ever. And then, genre of music, I listen to everything. So I listen to Frank Ocean, sort of soul, R&B stuff. I'm also a massive fan of, I listen to a lot of hip hop. I love country. I love acoustic stuff. I'm a big fan of Chris Stapleton and Morgan Wallen and stuff like that when it comes to country music. I love, and then I also listen to a bunch of stuff I used to grew up with, sort of the punk rock early 2000s era of Blink-182, Sum 41, all that some Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, all that sort of stuff, which I grew up with, which I actually still really love now. So when that comes on, I'm happy as. So I haven't got a really genre that I stick to, but it's like good is good, regardless of what it is.
That's the best way to put it. If it's good music, it's good music. If it's not, if it's not good music, it's definitely not. But
yes.
Do you have any tattoos?
I don't. My wife has enough for both of us. So I've got none. If I did have one, I've actually like I don't think I would get one, but if I did get one, it would be probably a portrait of my dog's face somewhere. I love CrossFit. I watch a lot of CrossFit, and my favorite CrossFitter has a portrait of his dog's face on like his forearm here, done like immaculately. It's like my favorite tattoo of all time. So I did get one. I'd get bronze face on there, and then maybe my Wallaby number 949 somewhere. But I haven't got any now. But if I did, I'd probably get they'd be the two I would start with, and then we'll see.
Maybe even up the ante. I'm not an artist or anything. I'm just an idea. Maybe have like a portrait of your dog dressed up as like your Dungeons and Dragons character.
Oh my god, you're onto something there. And then I'll get like
you could even get like your Wallabies number and like Roman numerals and have that. Let
me just put this idea down on my phone and I'll contact someone, and then I'll credit you.
I can't draw it for you, but I can give you the idea.
Love
it. What is your current Netflix binge, or what do you recommend to people to watch on Netflix?
What have I watched on Netflix recently? Recently, I've just been watching a lot of, as some people do, love like murder documentaries and stuff. So I watched the thing on Jeffrey Dahmer recently, which was like super messed up. But I love that. I love finding out how people's minds work. It's just fascinating. I've got a degree in psychology and counseling. I've always kind of been like fascinated with how the mind works, and to see people who are just wired so differently, obviously horrific, but I find it really interesting. I watched that recently, which is great. My favorite TV show of all time is probably Community, which is like a sitcom with Donald Glover and stuff in it, and Chevy Chase, like funniest show ever. So, but my most recent watch has been probably Dahmer, and then just odd sporadic things here and there. But if you can get past the creepiness of it, it's a good watch.
I've seen the trailer, and I'm looking like
it's creepy. Like it's creepy, and the actor plays him like too well almost.
It's weird that he's in the X-Men films, which tells you his range. I'm a big superhero geek. Yeah. Or nerd, as you put it earlier. What's the difference between a geek and a nerd?
Similar. See, I'm like I view myself as like a fantasy geek or nerd. I've never really gone to like the sci-fi, like Star Wars, or I've never really got into the Marvel and stuff, like hardcore fantasy stuff with dragons and magic and swords and stuff. Yeah.
So you must really like the film Onward then, from Disney.
Pardon?
You must really like the Onward film from Disney. Never
heard of it.
You've never heard of Onward? Oh.
No. If it's up my alley, then I'll put it. Anything fantasy related, I'm in.
It's like in a fantasy world.
Beautiful.
Where the magic doesn't become a necessity anymore, but I don't want to give too much away. It's an animation. It's a Disney film.
Sounds interesting. I'll put it on the watch list for sure. I've got a big bus ride to Exeter tomorrow, so I can put it on the watch list.
There we go. Sorry. Happy days. One thing you hate doing, but you have to do it.
Thing I hate doing, but I have to do it. Cleaning up so my wife doesn't divorce me. No, I'm joking. One thing I hate doing, but I have to do it. Eating healthy, because I have such a massive sweet tooth. I have a massive sweet tooth, and I get like bad cravings a lot. Sometimes I'm like an undercover fat kid. Like I would just love. I'm gonna have to be really careful when I stop playing rugby and exercising for a living, because I could easily blow out. I'm gonna have to be very, very disciplined, and I put weight on very easily. So yeah, I have to be very conscious of what I eat, because I stack weight on like no other. And I'm like naturally very heavy. So like I played about 100, just between like I fluctuate between like 127 and 130 kilos now. And there's boys who are like in the back row who are like just over 100 kilos and they eat way more than me. And if I ate that many things, I'd be like 150 kilos. So I have to be very conscious of what I eat all the time, which is frustrating, but it's something I've done for so long now. It's just part of my life. But if I could, I'd love to just be, I wouldn't love to because I like my health, but I could very easily be very, very large because I love eating and I have a massive sweet tooth and I have to curb it at every time I put something in my mouth. I have to think about the calories.
Oh, God. We're going to steer into that, Skid, just for a minute though. What's your favourite dessert?
Any cheesecake, any sort of cheesecake. I love baked goods and cakes, but cheesecake is even just original one or a lemon cheesecake, or I like the really decadent stuff. Like nothing's too rich. Anything like a chocolate cheesecake, salted caramel stuff. I like really, really decadent sweet stuff is my go-to.
To be fair, you can't go wrong with a cheesecake. I do love a cheesecake.
It's so good.
And it's come up to that glorious time of the year where my mum's close friend just makes the family cheesecakes. She makes like 2 or 3.
Dangerous, very dangerous.
Doesn't tell anyone what flavour it is until she hands you it.
Like a dip. I like it, but see, I like baking and stuff too. So like I baked last week. I made these chocolate chip cookies with salt and stuff. It was amazing. But I ate one and then I took the rest of them to my D&D session. Like handed them out to everyone because otherwise I would literally, if they're in the house, I'm eating it. So I make sure I do my shop and I stop myself from buying it because in the house, I'll literally be like up in bed at like 9 p.m. and be like, ooh, I have some chocolate and thing. And I'll just like run downstairs and eat it. I'm like, why did I do that? But I just have this insatiable urge for sweet.
It's fair. Nothing wrong with that.
In my profession, there's a little bit.
In the profession, yeah, but in life, there's nothing wrong.
No, but I'm good. It was inevitable. It's going to become a tight head. It's just the way it is.
Fair enough. I'm going to flip to the question I asked. One thing you love to do, but you don't get to do it often.
Good question. One thing I love to do, don't get to do often. Probably a soppy, silly answer, but I love, like, my brothers are my best friends in the world. Like, I love my brothers and I love my family. My brothers are my best friends in the world. And I rarely get to see them now because I live over the other side of the world. We're very like spread out family. So like I live in London. One of my brothers still lives in Perth in Western Australia. And my other brother lives up in Darwin in the north of Australia because he's in the army. So like and then my parents live in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. So literally our family is just like all over the world. And we rarely ever get to see each other. But especially I miss my brothers a lot because like we grew up, I think there's a year and a half between all of us. So there's 3 of us. Like when I was born, my oldest brother was 3. And then Sebby was a year and a half. So like we were so close growing up. And then like with COVID and stuff, like I went 5 years without seeing my brothers and got to see him in June recently, which was unreal. So yeah, the thing I love doing most is just literally me and my brothers. We could just be sitting around either playing PlayStation or doing nothing, and we just laughing our heads off, just being idiots. So I miss that a lot. It's one of my favorite things to do is just hang out with my brothers, and I rarely get to do that now. Maybe once a year, at most. So
there's nothing.
That's the nature of the job.
There's nothing soppy about that answer. Final question. One thing you'd like to be remembered for?
One thing I'd like to be remembered for. I'd like to be remembered for just in general, not just with my time at Irish, which has been a long-term thing. Yeah. And just kind of my commitment, passion and loyalty, I think. I think generally, like my natural state, I'm quite a loyal guy, which you can see. Like I played for the Force for that. I thought I was going to only ever play for them, and I've come here and I've been with Irish for my 7th year now, and I've got a longer term contract after this. So I'm going to be with them for the foreseeable future. So I'd like to think that I'm a loyal guy, and I try to play with a sort of love for the team that I play with, which is something that fuels me. Which is why I think I like to stay like with one team, because I kind of build a passion and a love for the team and the fans and the identity of the squad. So that's kind of what I like to try and fuel me, and what I want to be remembered for is being someone who played with a love and a passion of sort of commitment to his craft. Because I've dedicated over half my life to professional rugby. And I've sacrificed a lot, and I want to continue to do it for as long as I can. And I hope that comes through in sort of the way I play and the way I act, because I've got a genuine love, especially for London Irish. I've got a very soft spot for them in my heart, and I've got a real love for the club. And I like to try and every time I put on the jersey, try and play with the passion and the level of effort that it deserves.
I love that, and we'll end up on that high.
There we go.
Ollie, what an absolute treat it was learning about just everything about you, almost in a way.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Maurice. It's been a pleasure being on.
The book is now closed because you've crushed it.
Thank you.
And just all the best. You're going to get 150 appearances easy. I think I'm on one. I think this game on Saturday against Exeter, I think, is 148. So if all things goes to plan, it should be Newcastle at home in a couple of weeks. Nice. It'll be 150, which is really cool, which is wild, because I think there's only been a handful of people that have ever done that at Irish. So it's even to be in the 100 club now is unreal. I get to kind of there's the whole way leading to our locker room with like everyone who's played 100 games has their photo on this wall, and it's kind of weird like having walked past my photo like multiple times a day. So I'll get a new one up there when I get to 150, which is going to be really cool. Just give it like a little kiss on your way past.
Yeah, just give it a little wink every time. It's actually a cool photo of me. Like, it makes me look really skillful. It's like mid offload, so I'm like flicking the ball out the back. It looks really cool. But
nice, I like that.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say now, but it's been an absolute blast, and I was definitely miscounted how many games you've had for the London Irish.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I counted 138, but I definitely missed. I was 10 off.
There's probably a few gritty games in the Championship Cup or some of the British and Irish Cup in my first couple of seasons that no one wants to remember.
Maybe that might be that. It's just because like your Wikipedia page, it says it was updated like June this year, so it's like 138. So I was like, right, we'll go on London Irish socials this year and see how many like squad sheets you've been in. And I was like, right, okay, blah blah blah, and I was like, right, 138. I'm like, no, he's played more than 3 games this season.
Yeah, I think I'm on 147 right now before the Exeter game.
There we go. So
we're getting there.
Happy days. You'll definitely crush it. Well, I'm gonna up the ante. You're gonna get 200 appearances for London Irish.
That's the goal. Let's see how we go.
And then after that, you could top Siojo at 300.
I'll have to
302.
I'll have to play until I'm about 55, I reckon, to top that. That man's crazy. That was incredible. I remember playing. I'm going on another tangent. And I'm trying to end the pod. One of my favourite games ever for London Irish is we played Stade Francais away in Paris. This is the first season we were in the Premiership. And we'd like won no games all year. We were really struggling. We were bottom of the table by quite a while. And they sent sort of like I was like second or third string tight end in the squad at this time. They sent kind of like the B team away to Stade Francais, and it was Topsy's record appearance for London Irish. It was like his 290 something game, and we went to Stade Francais and literally beat them by like 40 points. It was like all the young Irish boys, and then Topsy, who was like at the back end of his career, so he wasn't getting picked that much. And like Topsy scored a double, and like we're playing. It was like the most unreal game. I'll never forget that game. And then we got taken out into Paris after that night and had a massive night and caught the train back the next day. And everyone, even the team manager, was like so hungover that we like missed our train, and it was a nightmare getting back, but it was so worth it. It was unreal. Sorry, I've got another tangent. I like to waffle.
No, good. That's the story. That's the stories we want in the pod. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to add just another question before we round it off, because I had written it down, but I forgot to ask it.
That's all right.
Matt Rogerson or Kyle Rowe?
Oh, God. Kyle's got such glorious hair. I love Kyle, and he was so good for us last year. I'll say Rog just because I've been with Rog for a lot longer. I've been through a championship promotion with Rog. He's been my skipper. I love playing with Rogerson. He's a tough northern man who gets the gritty stuff and doesn't do all the flash things. But Kyle was unbelievable for us last year. He was that kid can play. His glorious mullet flying through the air as he scores tries is something to behold.
Yeah, the glorious mullet that just keeps on going.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's so long now, honestly. So long.
Bet.
It's even longer. He's rehabbing right now. His mullet's just looking as glorious as ever.
I mean, when we had him on, it was just at like jaw level. It was all nice. It looked permed.
Yeah, I think he uses quite a bit of product. It's impressive coming from a bald man. From a bald man, I've got a lot of envy for his head of hair.
I love that. We're going to end it on that. This has been the final whistle with Oliver Hoskins. We'll catch you next time.